4-H Companion Animal Online Cat Club. This is month 2. If you missed last month, it is posted on the online somewhere if you want to refer back to that. But I'll take this time just to quickly. Let's see. Technical difficulties. 1 second. Okay. So if you weren't here last weekend, I'll just quickly introduce myself again. My name is Haley Kaiser. You can call me Miss Kaiser or Haley, doesn't matter. I'm a master's student working under Lisa Carr, and I'm helping her do this outreach program, and I love cats, so it's really fun for me. Hopefully it's fun for you to learn too. Fun fact about me is that I used to work at the Lincoln Children's Zoo as a crazy bird lady, but I love all animals, small and large. So why don't we have Jasmine? She is the undergrad here helping me. She's going to be monitoring your guys' questions throughout this, just because this is something I'm not very familiar with yet. So she'll be watching for your questions, but say hi, Jasmine. Hi. And then if you guys want to introduce yourself really quickly and tell us where you're from. Who wants to go first?
There we go.
David?
So we can't hear him. We have to unmute it.
You can't hear me?
No, we wouldn't be able to hear him because he's got his screen muted.
Okay, well, if you don't want to introduce yourself, that's totally fine. We'll just get going.
Second.
Okay, so before we get started, last month we learned about the cat history and the 10 most common breeds. And like I said, if you missed that meeting, you can go back and review that later if you wish.
He said no, thank you.
That's okay, David. That's totally fine. I get a little shy too. And after our last activity, I asked participants last month to send in pictures of their cats to see if we could identify their body type and breed. And with that said, let's try to apply what we learned. What's up, guys? Looks like we have some other people joining us. So what we're going to try to do is take a picture of someone's cat that they sent in and identify the body type and also what breed they are. So we only had one, and he's super cute. His name is Wicket. I don't even know if Andrew's on this call.
He's right here.
Oh, you're Andrew. You're the only one that sent it in. Okay, so do you want to tell us about your cat?
Wait, because of what you said, I don't think I should say the breed.
Okay, so, I mean, do you want to tell us something funny about him?
Well, he likes to do some kind of weird stuff.
Does he? Does he like to play?
Well, so I got a new coat, and it's a 3-in-1 coat, so you zip up
It has different layers.
other coat too. It's basically 2 coats, but it's 1 coat. You zip the lighter coat into the heavier coat to make an even heavier coat. But Wicket likes going in between the 2 and they're
Oh
zipped up.
my gosh.
So it's just like, so
you try to put your jacket on and he's in there.
Then, well, no, like we notice him, but one day I didn't notice him once, and I kind of almost stepped on him.
Yeah. That's a pretty funny fact.
But yeah, so it's basically just bottom layer of the coat, Wicket, top layer.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can see it now that I can picture his face. He seems like a little mischievous thing. So,
and you
remember
see that
last
right
week?
over there? That's his power.
Do you remember what we learned last month? The body types and breeds, right?
Yeah.
So, what were the 2 body types of cats?
There was the
So one's Cobby,
Cobby,
and the other one's Foreign.
sorry.
Which one do
Also,
you think your cat
He
is?
prefers to use a couch or another piece of furniture over the scratching posts.
Oh, yikes. Sounds like a cat thing to do, huh? So it looks like he might be a cobby, right? Because what
Yeah.
characteristics?
Well, he has quite a bit of fur.
Yeah, he's bigger boned. He's got a round head, right? He's a little bit stockier than maybe like a Siamese cat. So what kind of breed do you think he is from last week?
Well, he's our cat, so I've known this for quite a while.
Oh yeah?
Ever since we got him, he's a tabby.
He's a tabby, which is an American short hair, right? Perfect. Well, thanks for participating. Okay, so let's talk about this month's topic, genetics and reproduction. So today we're going to talk about some super fun, awesome, fun stuff. And it's all about kittens. I don't know about you guys, but I love kittens. They're super cute. So we're going to start from before birth and then after birth. We're going to get into this complicated, complex subject, but we're going to get through it together. So starting with the very smallest level, we're going to talk about components that give rise to all life. And this is before birth at the cellular level. So, oops, is this right? Mine are backwards. Or I just missed it. Okay, well, what makes you you? Do you have any idea?
Well, I guess we're all different in our own ways, doing whatever we want.
We are all different. And you know why that is?
DNA.
Which is
And
what?
also just
as a whole?
personality.
Genetics.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Andrew. We're all made up of all sorts of different components. And we're all different in our own ways, and that all comes back to our genetics. And that's no different for your dog, cat, a giraffe, all sorts of things. And I don't know about you guys, but genetics is kind of complex, and it gets a little confusing along the way. So we're going to do a series of categorizing to hopefully get that idea across. But we're going to start out with a short video about heredity and start with the broadest idea and work our way to more specific details. So let's watch this video. All right, so starting from the broad idea and learning the specifics, we just learned that heredity is what?
Traits passed down from generation to generation that can change a little bit.
So what are traits? One more step specific.
Traits are like our person, like our eye color, hair.
Exactly, like a characteristic. So they're the passing of specific characteristics such as, like you said, eye color or coat type from one generation to another. So what gives rise to or controls what traits you have?
Your DNA and or
Close. You're one step ahead of me. So he briefly mentioned it, but you get one from your mom, one from your dad. They start with a C. Chromosomes. Exactly right. And they are what control the traits that you have that control your heredity. So, talking more about chromosomes, they are found inside cells. And these chromosomes contain the body's genetic instructions. They basically create a blueprint for your body, like you said, like your personality. Organisms receive chromosomes from their mother and their father. Chromosomes are paired up, so each chromosome pair will have one chromosome from the mother and one from the father. So different species have different numbers of chromosomes. And the cat, obviously, has altogether 38 or 19 pairs. So, in mammals, the female has 2 sex chromosomes, which are essentially identical, and that is X and X. And then you have your males, which is 1X and 1Y. I don't know why that is. That's just how science has defined it. And so what are chromosomes? They're instructions, right? Instructions. All right, so we just talked about chromosomes being genetic instructions. So if we go one step further, remember you said
genetics.
What was the other step that you said that I said, oh, you're one ahead of me?
DNA.
DNA, or where your genes come from. So to put this into perspective, we're going to walk through this illustration. I think it better visualizes how you see it, or at least for me it does, how the whole idea of genetics works. So as you all know, we're made up of a bunch of cells, and in each cell is what? Do you know? It starts with an N.
Nucleus.
Nucleus, exactly right.
So
within each nucleus, there are chromosomes. And I think this is a good illustration to show that. And again, these control the characteristics, which are known as traits. So you have 2 genes. So this is where the genes are found within the chromosome, which are in the nucleus. Does that make sense? Can you see how many can be on one chromosome? There's a lot of genes on there. So that is why there's so much variability. It's kind of crazy to wrap your head around. So, and as he mentioned, you get, just like chromosomes, you get 1 gene from the mother and 1 gene from the father. And these genes collectively, this is just saying 2 genes required, 1 from dad, 1 from mom. And then I liked this to show that you get 1 from your mom, 1 from your dad. They meet, and then they give rise to a cute little kitten. And you see how it might look like the mother, or it could look like the father's, depending on how the genes interact. Does that make sense? Okay, and these are called sex cells. Okay. So when these 2 genes meet to become a pair, the type of gene that they are will determine if the offspring will be, or will have that characteristic. There are dominant and recessive genes, kind of like what he talked about in the video. When a dominant gene is present, that characteristic will always be expressed. Do you know what I mean by that? So if you take, these are going to be, so big D means dominant, and this means
recessive.
Right, so if you put 2 big dominants together, it's going to be dominant, right? But no matter what, if there's a big D next to a small d, it's going to be dominant.
And recessive.
No, it's because the dominant covers up the recessive. Does that make sense? So the only way you're going to have that recessive gene is if you have 2 lowercase d's. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'll put the rest of the slide up here. So when the dominant gene is present, the characteristic will always be expressed. And if the recessive trait is there, both of them have to be together to be expressed. 2 against 1. So speaking of pairs, you can have homozygous or heterozygous. I'm throwing lots of big words at you.
I just figured out the percentage of it being both small d's. That would be a 25%.
Perfect. That's awesome, Andrew. I was going to do an example, and I don't even need to now. Can you explain to the class why that is?
So
You know what this is called by chance? This for? Maybe not.
no.
It starts with a P. It's called a Punnett square, and it's used in genetics.
Oh, I was just saying. I just figured out the percentage because there are 4 and
Okay, how about
4
this?
would be 25%.
Exactly. So let's say that the large D is blue eyes, is the chance you're going to get blue eyes.
Okay.
And then the small d is green eyes. So what is the percentage that a kitten is going to have green eyes?
Well, wait. You said the green eyes was the small d.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be 25%.
Perfect job. I hope everybody gets that too. I think you're helping everybody understand. Great job. Okay, so now we're going to go the opposite way and see if we can put this all together. Okay, so what are genes?
Genes are
They're very smallest, right?
They're like
They're found in the nucleus.
genes is basically short for genetics.
They're the starting information, right?
Yes.
So it's found in the nucleus, has all the information, and that's what creates variability, right? So then that gives rise to chromosomes, right? And chromosomes are the instructions for what? Do you remember?
Your DNA.
Traits. Right. And then traits pass the characteristics from one generation to another to heredity, which is the big, big picture. So it goes genes, chromosomes, traits, heredity.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? And that's from the smallest to the most broad. Does that make sense? The littlest to the largest. Okay. So with that, let's try to do our first activity.
Yes, Kahoot.
Kahoot. Let's see.
You know what though? My phone died again. Sorry, kiddo.
You can use Jasmine's. Marta and David, have you guys ever used Kahoot?
Yes.
Okay. So if you, I'll go ahead and click this. We're gonna open it up. Cool. Okay.
Sorry. No, it's fine. Battery when we walk in here. My phone just randomly shuts off.
I know how that goes. Oh. Marta, do you know how to log into Kahoot? Are you guys wiki? We'll wait for you, David.
I'm trying to go. It's taking a little bit to load.
Oh, you're waiting for it to load?
Yeah,
Okay, no worries. We'll wait for you.
I'm on an old computer.
So is it only us two?
Yeah. Looks like it.
No, like in the whole entire, not this specific classroom, but in
The whole
this
building.
No, I mean
Like-
for yeah. So including the people that aren't here
Yes.
today. Like no,
There's
that
two
aren't
other.
like online.
Yeah, there's
That's
So Jasmine is logging on to help me look for questions.
So it's okay. So 2 other people that made it to the meeting, even if they're online.
Right. Well, 3, including you.
Yeah, but never mind. those are the microphones.
Yeah, they're kind of pesky in a way.
I was like wondering what was on the screen when you did it. I was like,
Yeah, I don't know why they put it in front of the projector. Yeah, it's kind of odd. Do you need help, David?
Why is Jasmine
No, it's going. I'm just doing this on a really old computer, so it's taking a while.
Okay.
and
I'm in.
why are they muted?
well, because that way if they're talking or somebody's in the background, you can't hear them.
Yeah. So she must just not want to be heard. Maybe they're doing something else while this is going on, so they don't want to hear my voice.
Hey, how would we connect online? So you could, that's my decision.
There's a link. It's written down.
Well, yeah, but what if I'm sick?
It's on the 4-H Cat Club website.
I actually have it booked on iPhone. So that way, like if we're traveling or
All right.
So go there for some. I can't go there, but you know what I mean.
You guys have
still participate.
Wait,
what did you say?
if we were on like a phone, we can't have multiple tabs open. How would we have
Hi, Bruce!
cut?
All right. I'm in.
Morning.
How
We're
does
just
it
about
have-
to play a Kahoot game.
All right. I'm in Kahoot. I should be in there.
Did you type in the game pin?
Five 1 3 5 6 9 1.
All right.
It's okay.
I'm using a different computer right now because my other one, Firefox, just crashed.
Oh,
So
man.
I have to use a different computer.
It always happens at the worst time. Do you have Boy Scouts tonight?
Yeah, we did.
No.
Wait.
All right. I'm in.
Oh, hi, David.
There we go.
But
Bruce, are you going to try to participate?
isn't Bruce muted?
Yeah, he is, but then he knows what's going on.
Might not know what we're doing. Bruce, did you want to try to play or should we go ahead? Can you type anything in?
Wait, he can type.
Okay.
And here's the chat.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right,
Only 2 play?
are you ready?
Oh.
Okay, so we just learned a lot of
From
really.
broad to specific, what 4 topics of genetics were discussed?
So the first one that we did.
Yeah, that was just good placing for me. They were all in the right spots.
Oh man. Good job. That's all right, David. All right. You want to read this one out loud too, David?
Order the gene pairs.
Order the gene pairs by level of dominance, with the most dominant pair first.
How do I do
So
I think it matters.
blue and green, and green and blue can be either?
it shouldn't matter. Yay!
What's that right?
Good job, guys. All right. I think I only have one last one.
Yep. Definitions.
Specific. A hard one.
Okay. Yeah, it was kind of hard. Both of us got it right. Wrong. Not right.
It's a lot of terms to throw at you.
Wiki.
Good job, guys. Okay. Let's see. phrase "boy meets girl"? Have you ever heard that? Maybe I'm just old. Well, it might be a little bit different in cats, and this is just me being silly. But for cats, boy cats, they are toms, and female cats are known as queens. So I made a funny little slide here. Tom meets queen. So although the cat love stories aren't as complex, cats still require sexual reproduction to have kittens. But before they can successfully be creative, both genders must reach what is called sexual maturity. And this is where they have the capability of reproducing, and it's usually considered synonymous with adulthood. So in cats, sexual maturity can be reached as early as 5.5 months. That's pretty young, right?
Hey, one question.
What's that?
What does it mean for a cat to be in heat?
We'll get there. Okay. So, like I said, it usually happens before they're a year old. So how long do cats usually live?
I don't know.
Like it's usually around 20-ish years. So to be able to have babies when you're less than a year old is pretty crazy, right? But nuts. So, this is a video, kind of strange, but it's a video of a female cat showing that she is in heat, which scientifically means she's in estrus, and it's just a cycle that not just female cats, but all female animals go through, which means that they are receptive to having babies. So we're going to watch this video to see the 5 signs that your cat is in heat, aka if she is ready to be bred to have kittens. That is a cute video.
Cinnamon. Brownie, cinnamon.
I think I turn this down.
Or
Isn't that weird? Have you ever heard that outside even? Really?
no, no. What about for males?
That's usually just.
Yeah.
I've heard my cats do it.
It's weird. Yeah, so they'll roll around on their back a lot. They present their stomach.
Our cat does this anyway, and he's a boy, and he just does it to be cute, I guess. I don't know.
And then they'll hold their tail to a side so that the female cat can smell the hormones that they have coming off of them. It looks kind of goofy, but just to, especially if they were outside, they'd be able to smell that from miles away. Some cats are really affectionate when they are receptive. Mine never were. I wanted to be left alone.
Oh.
You're so cute. And then the last one, let's do it. It's pretty much the same, where they rub their face. Yeah. Objects.
It's not that noise. That's. Look, it's a weird cat.
But anyways, so another one that they didn't mention, and this might be the only one for males usually, is that they'll spread urine. Is their telltale sign that they are ready. And just like a lot of cat facts, they are kind of unique compared to a lot of other animals. But let's talk about what has to happen before. So like we mentioned, females must be in estrus and able to mate. And as we found out, what does estrus mean?
It means
That they're in.
they're in heat or ready to breed.
Yes.
Is what I would say.
Exactly
I don't know
right.
what
And
either
this
of
is-
those things meant.
And this is a period that usually lasts as long as 21 days in cats. And again, this is different for every species. And interesting thing about them is that they're induced ovulators, another funky term I'm sure might be kind of strange to you, which just means that if they were to find a male cat that they are ready to breed with, the only way that they can ovulate or release an egg to be fertilized is being induced by a male, if that makes sense. And then, as we all know, cats are kind of weird. A lot of times we may question why a cat does what it does, and the answer is simply just because it's a cat thing. No one really knows. And it's the same thing with mating and their estrus cycle. So a queen can actually have one litter with two different coms. That's kind of nuts. Another cool fact is that they can actually get pregnant while they're nursing young kittens. So again, it just comes down to a hormone thing.
Wait a minute. Wait, isn't that because, you know, that after a month they can already be bred thing?
Right. So it's just instinctive to them that they are receptive to conceive again.
Yeah.
So this is
that
one of the
makes
reasons,
sense.
yeah, why they should be kept inside. It's because a lot of times they could abandon their current kittens that they have, and they're probably not ready. And we'll talk about that further in the PowerPoint, what can happen if the mom leaves before the kittens are ready. So there are some signs of pregnancy. An early sign is a change in their mammary glands. Do you know what a mammary gland is? So it's where the kitten will feed. Yes, Wicket's a male, right? But have you ever seen a female cat?
Sadly been
Kind of like, kind of like on the rabbits.
Yeah. Yeah, so those get really enlarged with milk, and it just helps them prepare to feed all the kittens that they're about to have. They can get morning sickness, just like pregnant women do. It's something that's kind of hard to look out for, though. But and then they'll also have a swollen belly. This can happen around 4 weeks or 30 days. And it's pretty noticeable to detect that. That's probably when it's a telltale sign that your cat is pregnant. And they also do this really strange nesting behavior, meaning they're trying to find a place to have their kittens. We'll talk about the best way, covering that, the best way to prepare for that as well, just to make your queen comfortable. And she'll even start acting more maternal and being affectionate towards you.
in the toilet.
Because that's morning sickness. That was the only cat picture I could find. Because that one's pretty hard to see in cats. It's not very common. All right, so some fancy words you guys should probably know, and you might already know them. So gestation is another word for pregnancy. On average, a cat's gestation length is 66 days. How many months is that? Around. There's how many days in a month? 30-ish, right? So that's a little over 2 months. It's not very long. And this is the length of time when the kitten starts to form in the mom's belly from the time she gives birth. So then, like we said with the mammary glands, lactation is a word used to describe when she's producing milk for her kittens, right? And then parturition is a term that refers to the process of giving birth to those kittens. And in cats, it's a fun fact, but you can refer to that as queening as well. So queening or parturition are the same, but queening is specific to cats. All right, and lactation is a word that we use to describe milk production. A mother cat will produce the most milk for her kittens 3 to 4 weeks after they are born. And during this time, mothers have a much high nutrient requirement that corresponds with how much milk they are producing. So it's kind of like maybe a human. They're hungrier, right, Mom?
Mm-hmm.
They get a lot hungrier, and cats are no different. So they're just preparing to feed all those extra bodies. They're awesome creatures. And during the second week, they'll be eating about 2 times as much as normal. And when lactation peaks in the following weeks, the mother may need at least almost 3 times more than what she was getting. So you're feeding her a considerable amount more than you're used to. So it's very important to always offer your pregnant cat food to make sure she's not nutrient deficient in anything. And then as their milk production starts to decrease, you can start decreasing their food as well. Yeah, and like I said, just free access as much as she wants. And so like we just talked about, they're gonna increase in their appetite, and they have a gestation period. The average is 66 days, 62 to 70 days. And during that time, you can do there's a number of ways you can see how many kittens there are, just to make sure that they are healthy. There's palpating, ultrasounding, and radiograph. I never did this because I was on a farm, but you can always tell. But then you have to look for signs of labor. So towards the end of gestation, when they're about to go into labor, like I said, they'll start looking for a nesting area or somewhere warm to have their babies. And then another thing about the food that you feed them, it's super important that you make sure that it says you're allowed to feed it to the mom. It will say like you can feed to pregnant or with kittens as well. And I think that's a requirement for every food across the board. Just make sure you're feeding them the right food. Okay, and this is the maternity box that I was showing you. This is a variety. If you have an outside cat, a lot of people will do cardboard box, or if you want to be really fancy like that top picture, just so it's covered, a place for them to feel like it's their own space, and big enough for her to move around. So like I said, a sturdy box with an entrance. Some people will put a top on, but again, it's just to make them feel more comfortable. But you'll want to put it somewhere where it's not going to be really loud. So if you are going to have kittens in your house, put it somewhere, maybe like in a bathroom that you don't use very often, just somewhere where it's dark and you're not going to have a lot of noise and craziness happening around it, because that will create stress. Oh, I just covered that. So warm, quiet. Okay, so then what is parturition, Andrew?
Parturition.
So she was gestating, and now she's ready to
Give birth.
exactly. And then in cats, what do they call it?
Parturition.
What are female cats referred as? Queen.
Queens.
And then what is queening, right?
Queening.
Is parturition for cats. So there are a number of signs to look for that indicate the cat is going to give birth soon. And you should just keep an eye out for these starting around day 60. About 12 to 36 hours before giving birth, the cat's body temperature will decrease. You can start checking the cat's temperature about the 61st day of pregnancy to get a good idea of when the kittens will be born. Cats might also stop eating for about a day or two before birth. I know I'd probably feel pretty bloated at that time. They might be restless and not stay in one place for very long. They'll wander around because they're just uncomfortable and just getting ready. They'll start a rhythmic purring or open mouth breathing. So those are some things to keep an eye out for. So there's 3 different phases for parturition or queening. So you have beginning of contractions. This is the very first of that. Like I said, that kind of ties in with your rhythmic purring. They'll start breathing through the mouth as they prepare. They have a higher pulse, and then this phase can last around 12 hours before they go into phase 2, which hopefully this doesn't gross you guys out too much. But this is where your contractions intensify. Do you know what contractions are? Have you ever had a cramp?
Yes.
So it's kind of like the same thing where your muscle gets really, really tight. So contractions are kind of the same thing where it's trying to push those kittens out. So in phase 2, those contractions get really strong, ready to push those kittens out because it's not a pleasant process, I'm sure. So during this, the kitten is born, and this is where the mother will start licking a lot, breaking the sac that the kitten comes in, and the sac.
An amniotic sac.
An
The kitten is inside the mom.
What's her name?
So an amniotic sac covers the kitten, and that's how mothers give nutrients when they're in the tummy. So it's just a way for the kittens to grow and get those nutrients while they're in the tummy. And then when they come out, they need to breathe oxygen. So they have to, they don't really have hands to get it off. So they kind of, it's not pleasant for us, but it's nature. They have to lick it off to enable breathing. And that lasts about 10 to 15 minutes for each kitten, just depending on if there are any complications. So then, this is also kind of an icky picture, but it's nature. So then in phase 3, they have the afterbirth where the placenta, another way to get nutrients to the kitten, is expelled. Again, they eat it. They also will chew the umbilical cord, because babies have umbilical cords that are attached.
That's
So you know your belly button?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Where
where,
it's created by that?
yep. So that's no different for cats. You just can't really see a cat's belly button really well because it's covered by fur. But they chew it off to disconnect them. And I think I have a video in here too that shows when it dries out and it just kind of falls off after a while. And then this phase is repeated for every single kitten. And it can take between 2 to 6 hours. Again, depending on how many kittens the mother has or if she has any complications. So with that, we have another activity. And this one is actually a worksheet. So I have some, we have so many people. Welcome, you guys. Hold on.
Why is everyone muted?
I probably don't want to be heard. I wouldn't want to hear myself talking. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the lights for these guys here. But I have this for you guys. Did you want to do it over here, Andrew? Oh, did you already? Oh, you're prepared. Look at you go. Okay, so I don't know the best way to do this, you guys, but we're going to try to do a new mother's activity with what we just learned. So I think what I'm going to do, I guess I should ask, did you guys print these out or were you able to access them online? No one's commented? Okay. Feel free to comment. Jasmine is making sure you guys aren't left with questions unanswered. If not, I might just go ahead and read them out loud, or Andrew can read them out loud, and we'll go through them together quick.
the responses on
It's
That's not the only one.
It is 6:45. Maybe I'll leave the activity for you guys to fill out on your own time, but I might try to get through the next little part. But for those of you online, hopefully you're able to access them on your own time. But is that okay with you guys? Okay. I might do that. This was a little bit longer. There's a lot of information.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll do that. Okay. So now let's talk about my favorite stage when the kittens grow and they have all these cute stages after they are born. Oh yes, I know I put a cute video in here of kittens for you. So I'm just gonna play it and talk over it. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. So kittens should weigh about 3 to 4 ounces, actually.
You see that black cord on its tummy?
Yeah, so oops. That's the umbilical cord. So these guys should weigh about 3 to 4 ounces when they're born, and their eyes are actually closed, and they aren't able to hear very well. Can you guys still hear me on the audio? Oh, I guess I don't know about that.
Why couldn't we hear the video? Did you turn the volume off?
I was gonna try to talk over it, but we can play it again. I just want them to be able to hear me. So they're born with their eyes closed and they can't hear very well. Their eyes won't actually start opening until 8 to 10 days after birth. So they are completely dependent on their mother for care. However, kittens do have a relatively good sense of smell, which allows them to find their mother's belly, locating a teat, and so that they can nurse. So that's how well their smell is very important for them. And since they can't see, they learn to recognize the mother by her scent. They're unable to urinate without help from their mother, and the mother cat must lick the bottoms of her young to help them get rid of the waste. If kittens don't get this help when they're young, they could actually die. So it's really important that their moms are around at this young age. And at this point, it's best to leave the kittens alone as much as possible. The first few days, they're not going to be doing much other than eating and sleeping and crying a lot. But if you do have kittens, just remove the soil bedding as needed, but otherwise just let the mother and kittens relax. Oh no, my mouse is gone. Serving it.
Can you hit the space bar?
Go away now. Ah, sorry guys, my mouse is behind the. I don't know how to. Oh, hold down here.
Oh.
What in the world? Oh my goodness. Oh, you help me. Yeah. Oh, you hit something. Oh, you're here. Ah! I don't know how. Will you just try to like grab it? It's in the here. Here, I'm gonna put it here. No, you got it. Yeah. Where need to go? Just here, where my hand is. Oh my goodness, your hand. There we go. Oh, yes. Oh, sorry guys. Bored. All right, so let's go back. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's try that again and not push my mouse behind the computer. So now we are 2 to 3 weeks old. This is where the kittens start opening their eyes. They'll be able to recognize their mom by sight as well. Their ear canal starts to open in the 2nd week, and they'll be able to gain the ability to hear what's going on around them. Their baby teeth start to come in, although they won't be able to eat any solid food in the 2nd week. But they do start to play with objects and mimic cats' hunting behavior. And in the 3rd week, they'll begin playing with each other, which is super cute. And then this is really important to handle them just so that it helps socialize, which you probably saw earlier since my PowerPoint went all wacky. But that's pretty much it for this stage. So as I said, it's really important to socialize them. How many of you guys have seen like a feral or stray cat? You have? And have you tried to pet them? Do they seem very friendly?
Well, they weren't friendly.
Exactly.
We didn't try and pet them.
Yeah, it was probably smart that you didn't. Yeah, so socializing is super important when they are 2 to 7 weeks old, because this is when they're aware of what's going on around them and they respond to events this way. They're really sensitive to new experiences, and the experiences will start having an effect depending on if it's good or bad for the long term. So they recommend that you handle them if they're less than 4 weeks old for at least 30 minutes a day, whether it's just talking to them, petting them, and whatnot. And then when they're older than 4 weeks old, you should hang out with them more than 30 times a day, which for me isn't very hard to do because they're pretty cute to hang out with, play with. So if you don't do this, there are some side effects. They can become aggressive and fearful of humans or loud noises or of other people. So it's really important to get them used to other animals, other people, so that they are the chillest chill cats. And here's a cute video of a cat discovering the litter box. So cute. So by the time they're 3 to 4 weeks old, they start moving around a lot more. And at this point, it's a really good idea to set up a barrier to prevent them from wandering off. Just make sure that you put up some sort of fence. It should be low enough that the mother can still jump over it. But around the same time, the kittens gain the ability to defecate without their mother's help, which is probably awesome for her, and she's really excited about that. But it's a good idea to place the litter box outside of their maternity box and make sure it's low enough so the kittens can still climb in it. It's usually not an issue to get them to go in the litter box because they'd probably rather go in a sand-like substrate than towels or whatever you have down for them. It's relatively easy. Oops. So at 4 to 6 weeks old, around the 5th week, the baby's teeth have all grown in and they are starting to wean off of their mother's milk. Weaning is the process of the transition from drinking the mother's milk to eating solid food. So by the end of the 6th or 7th week, they should weigh in about 1 pound. So it's really good to give them canned food or dry food that has water in it. And depending on what food you're feeding the mother, you may be able to use the same food that you are giving her. But over time, you just decrease the amount of water that you put in the solid food. And eventually, they eat it like normal. So it's really important to do this at this time in their life. And then at 7 to 8 weeks old, this is usually a good time for them to get vaccinated, their first round of vaccinations. So definitely take them to a vet to see what vaccinations your cat may need. And by this time, your kittens are probably wandering all over the place. And this means you've picked everything up that might be dangerous to a kitten, objects you don't want them playing with, like chemicals or maybe electric outlets. So it's really important just to, make your house more safe for those kittens that get into everything. And then I mentioned this a little bit earlier, that there is a kitten-to-mother bond, and it's really important that you don't disrupt that too early. When they are young, cats learn a lot by watching other cats, especially their mom. If kittens have a mother who acts friendly and relaxed around people, then that will set a precedence for them as well, helps them interact better with other animals or people. So this is where they have their observational learning. They might learn how to hunt during this period if they're outside cats. And again, this is learned from their mother, and then it just helps them kind of develop their emotional and their behavioral development. And then we get to 10 to 12 weeks old where they are super independent, and this is the best time to go to a new home. Hopefully by this time they've been socialized plenty. They know how to eat their own solid food and can go in the litter box as need be. But generally they recommend you wait until this time to give kittens away or what have you. So then we have our last activity, also found on the website. Again, we have like 5 minutes left, but feel free to do those on your own time. I know you guys have to go somewhere, don't you? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so feel free to do those on your own time. If you wanted to find the answers, you can email me or Lisa, and we can send you the key if you wanted to double check yourself. And then I'll see you guys next month. Please tell your friends we're trying to get this club as large as we can. If you have any suggestions for us, that'd be awesome. We just want to make it super fun and interesting and get all of our cat lovers together. So again, let us know if there's anything you want to see or if there's anything we should do. But next week we'll be talking about stray and feral cats. So join us then, and thanks for tuning in. I'll take any questions if you guys have them.
We should rebel against kill centers.
You should what? Rebel?
We should rebel against kill centers.
I agree.
What is the?
Alright, we need to go.
What?
Oh, well, we gotta get going.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
You know what? I wish I could stay till the end.
That is the end.
Oh, it is?
Next month, we're doing streaming cats.
Okay.
So,
It's kind of a lot of information, but hopefully.
Here's a quick, thank you, but here's a quick story. My mom found a cat that was just, like, it was a kitten, just abandoned in a bag right by her truck after work. So she put it in her truck, because the, animal control was taking way too long to get there, and she wasn't just gonna leave it there. So she put it in her truck and took it home. So we nursed it back to health, and now
Was it a lot
has
of
to get
work?
home. It took a while, and Wicket, well, Wicket, you see this kind of bump here? It's
Uh-huh.
a lot smaller, so I'm surprised you could see it. But Wicket cut deep right into my forehead because of the cat.
Oh, we got scared.
She scratched me, and it went deep.
Wicket was not a fan of the
New cat.
new cat.
Oh, so you got rid of the other kitten.
Well,
Right. Oh.
we didn't
Well,
get
we found
rid
it
of
in
it.
a
We
home.
found it
Yeah.
a new home. Like, we didn't send it off to an adoption center because
somebody.
then we can,
Yeah,
you know,
that's the
be
best
sure
way
it
to
would
do
be
it.
a good home, and also if it was at a kill center,
It
I know. It didn't even go through the
I know.
thing.
No.
If that was our only option, I'd be like, nope, I'm keeping this.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you next month. Should I go ahead and leave? Yeah. I think everyone else left over. I always feel bad. Like, this is probably so over their heads. I tried to make it as easy to understand as possible. And I even think that